There is a lesson that life whispers before it ever shouts. Most people miss it because they are listening only to words. But words are the easiest thing to disguise. Character is not. Truth is not. The heart always leaves footprints. Even when the mouth speaks beautifully, have you ever met someone who knew exactly what to say? They smiled at the right moments. They praised you when others were watching. They offered kindness that seemed almost too perfect. Yet every time you walked away from them, something inside you felt unsettled. You could not explain it. You could not prove it. But your spirit recognized what your eyes had not yet learned to see. Never ignore that quiet voice within you. Wisdom often arrives in silence long before evidence appears. The greatest danger does not always wear an angry face. It does not always announce itself with shouting or threats. Sometimes it comes wrapped in charm. Sometimes it arrives carrying compliments. Sometimes it introduces itself as friendship. An unhealthy heart understands that trust is valuable, so it works hard to earn it. It studies your hopes. It memorizes your fears. It listens, not to understand you, but to discover where you are most vulnerable. That is why you must never measure people only by how pleasant they appear. Measure them by what consistently follows their presence. Ask yourself this. After spending time with someone, do you feel stronger or smaller? Do you feel encouraged or constantly uncertain? Do they celebrate your victories, or do they quietly compete with them? These questions reveal more than 1,000 polished conversations. One hidden sign of a destructive spirit is joy in another person's pain. It is rarely obvious. They may comfort you in public while secretly enjoying your struggle. They may speak words of concern while hoping you never rise above your circumstances. Genuine people celebrate your healing because your light does not threaten theirs. But those who are consumed by bitterness believe someone else's success somehow steals from their own future. Do not become bitter because you discover such people exist. Become wiser because you now know how to recognize them. Another hidden sign is constant confusion. Every conversation leaves you questioning yourself. Every disagreement somehow becomes your fault. They rewrite yesterday until you begin doubting your own memory. They twist simple truths into complicated arguments. Peace disappears wherever they go. Healthy relationships produce clarity. Manipulation produces confusion. Never apologize for trusting your own experience. If someone's actions repeatedly contradict their promises, believe the actions. Actions require effort. Promises require only breath. There are people who praise you when you are useful and ignore you when you are growing. They cheer while they benefit from your gifts, but become uncomfortable the moment your confidence begins to bloom. They liked your insecurity because it made them feel important. Do not shrink yourself to preserve another person's comfort. You were not created to live beneath your potential, so someone else can remain above theirs. One of the quietest warning signs is disrespect disguised as humor. They laugh at your dreams. They make jokes about your appearance, your family, your ambitions, and when you are hurt, they tell you that you are too sensitive. Never allow cruelty to hide behind laughter. Respect does not embarrass people for entertainment. Love does not repeatedly wound and then criticize the wound for bleeding. Pay attention to how people treat those who cannot benefit them. Watch how they speak to strangers, waiters, janitors, children, and the elderly. Character is revealed most clearly when applause is absent. Anyone can appear generous when the spotlight is shining. Integrity is what remains after the audience leaves. Another hidden sign is envy wearing the clothes of advice. They discourage every dream that demands courage. They explain why your vision cannot succeed. They remind you of every possible failure while ignoring every possible victory. Not because your dream is impossible, because your courage reminds them of the risks they never took. Protect your vision from people committed to protecting their excuses. Some individuals collect broken people because broken people are easier to control. They weaken confidence before offering guidance. They create dependence before offering help. They convince you that you cannot survive without them. Never hand another person the keys to your identity. Your worth is not determined by someone's approval. Your value existed before they met you, and it will remain long after they leave. There is another sign that deserves your attention. They never accept responsibility. Every failure belongs to someone else. Every mistake has another name attached to it. Every conflict becomes evidence that the world misunderstands them. Humility accepts correction. Pride invents endless excuses. Growth begins the moment we become honest enough to examine ourselves before accusing everyone else. Do not confuse confidence with arrogance. Confidence lifts others while standing tall. Arrogance pushes others down to appear taller. Listen carefully to those who speak about people who are not present. If someone constantly destroys another person's reputation in front of you, remember that your absence may one day become the stage for your own character to be questioned. Protect your ears from gossip, because gossip trains the heart to enjoy destruction. Real strength is not found in exposing people's weaknesses. Real strength is found in helping people discover their own greatness. You will also recognize destructive people by their relationship with boundaries. Every healthy boundary feels like rejection to someone who benefits from controlling you. They become angry when you finally say no. They accuse you of changing simply because you stopped allowing unhealthy behavior. Do not fear disappointing those who never respected your limits. Every meaningful life requires boundaries. Every peaceful heart protects its gates. And let me tell you something that may change the way you see your future. You cannot prevent every betrayal. You cannot stop every deception. You cannot control every person's intentions. But you can strengthen your own discernment. You can refuse to ignore warning signs. You can choose peace over popularity. You can choose wisdom over appearances. You can choose truth even when lies sound more attractive. Do not spend your life searching for perfect people. They do not exist. Instead, seek honest people. Seek humble people. Seek those who celebrate goodness even when no one is watching. Surround yourself with people whose presence inspires you to become kinder, stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. And above all, become that kind of person yourself. The world does not need more people who can detect darkness while carrying darkness in their own hearts. It needs people who answer deception with integrity, hatred with courage, cruelty with compassion, and fear with unwavering conviction. Walk through this life with open eyes, but not with a closed heart. Carry wisdom without becoming suspicious of everyone. Carry kindness without becoming naive. Carry strength without becoming harsh. Carry forgiveness without surrendering your dignity. When your character becomes your greatest testimony, no deception can steal your peace for long. You will recognize what must be released. Cherish what deserves to remain and continue your journey with a heart that refuses to become bitter. Because the greatest victory is not merely escaping the influence of destructive people. It is ensuring that their darkness never persuades you to abandon your own light. I'm standing before you today with a simple truth that has the power to change the course of your life. Not everything that stays with you deserves a place in your future. Some people believe that endurance is always a virtue, that loyalty means remaining no matter how painful the circumstances become. But there is a difference between perseverance and surrendering yourself to what slowly destroys your spirit. Wisdom is knowing when to hold on, and courage is knowing when to let go. The greatest dangers in life rarely arrive looking dangerous. They come in familiar voices, familiar places, and familiar routines. They arrive one compromise at a time. They ask for very little in the beginning. Just one excuse, just one overlooked insult, just one broken promise, just one moment where you tell yourself, it's not that bad. But what you excuse today becomes what you accept tomorrow. And what you accept long enough eventually begins to feel normal. That is how harmful influences become familiar. They do not force themselves into your life overnight. They settle in quietly until your standards begin to change without you noticing. There was a time when disrespect shocked you. Then it became something you tolerated. Later it became something you expected. Finally, it became something you believed you deserved. That is the tragedy of becoming too familiar with what is unhealthy. It changes your expectations before it changes your circumstances. It teaches you to settle for less than your worth. Never underestimate the power of repeated exposure. The human heart adapts. It adapts to kindness, and it adapts to cruelty. It adapts to hope, and it adapts to fear. Whatever surrounds you long enough begins shaping the way you see yourself and the world. If you spend enough time around dishonesty, honesty begins to look unusual. If you spend enough time around bitterness, joy starts to seem suspicious. If you spend enough time around constant criticism, encouragement feels unfamiliar. The environment around you is always teaching you something, whether you realize it or not. That is why you must become the guardian of your own spirit. Not every door deserves to remain open. Not every relationship deserves unlimited access to your heart. Not every voice deserves influence over your thinking. Some people enter your life carrying storms they have no intention of calming. Everywhere they go, they leave conflict behind them. They speak division where peace could have existed. They celebrate gossip more than truth. They find satisfaction in watching trust disappear between people. If you stay close to that long enough, you may begin participating in what once disturbed you. The danger is not only becoming hurt by unhealthy behavior. The greater danger is becoming comfortable with it. When destructive habits become familiar, they no longer alarm your conscience. They begin to feel ordinary. You stop questioning them. You stop resisting them. Eventually, you stop recognizing them altogether. There are people who manipulate so skillfully that they convince others their confusion is love. They create emotional chaos and call it passion. They break trust and call it honesty. They control every decision and call it protection. They leave you exhausted while insisting they are the only one who truly cares about you. Real love does not require you to lose yourself in order to keep someone else comfortable. Healthy relationships challenge you to grow, not shrink. They make room for your voice instead of silencing it. They celebrate your progress instead of fearing it. They encourage honesty instead of demanding blind obedience. The moment you begin questioning your value every single day because of someone's presence, it is time to ask whether you are protecting the relationship at the cost of protecting yourself. Walking away is not always an act of anger. Sometimes it is an act of wisdom. Sometimes it is the quiet decision to refuse becoming someone you were never meant to be. There are places where your compassion will be mistaken for weakness. There are people who will interpret your patience as permission to continue hurting you. They will keep crossing boundaries because you keep moving the line. They will continue taking because you continue giving without balance. Kindness without wisdom becomes vulnerability. Forgiveness without boundaries becomes permission. Generosity without discernment becomes exploitation. Life will repeatedly ask you one important question. What are you willing to tolerate? Your answer determines the quality of your future. Every time you refuse to walk away from what dishonors you, you silently teach others how they may continue treating you. Standards are not built through speeches. They are built through decisions. The strongest people are not those who never experience betrayal. They are those who refuse to build a permanent home in places where betrayal has become normal. Do not confuse familiarity with safety. Something can be familiar and still be harmful. A painful routine is still painful. Simply because you have repeated it many times, many people remain trapped because they fear the unknown more than they dislike the misery they already know. They choose predictable pain over uncertain freedom. But growth has always required stepping into places where certainty does not exist. You cannot discover healthier relationships while refusing to release destructive ones. You cannot experience peace while constantly feeding conflict. You cannot protect your future while remaining loyal to everything that damaged your past. Every season of your life demands a different level of courage. Sometimes courage means speaking. Sometimes courage means staying silent. Sometimes courage means beginning again. And sometimes courage means simply walking away without needing everyone to understand why. Not every departure requires an explanation. Your peace does not need permission. Your healing does not require unanimous approval. There will always be people who misunderstand your decision to leave unhealthy situations. They only saw the smiles. They never witnessed the sleepless nights. They never carried the emotional weight you carried. They never felt the slow erosion of your confidence. Do not measure your decisions by the opinions of spectators. Measure them by whether they preserve your integrity. Protecting your heart is not selfish. Protecting your character is not pride. Protecting your peace is not weakness. It is wisdom earned through experience. Every day you remain surrounded by destructive influences. They attempt to reshape your thinking. Little by little, they redefine what is acceptable. They convince you that dishonesty is necessary, that cruelty is strength, that selfishness is intelligence, that compassion is weakness. Never allow darkness to redefine your values. Stand firmly on principles that remain true even when they become unpopular. Choose honesty when deception seems easier. Choose humility when arrogance appears rewarded. Choose patience when anger promises quick satisfaction. Choose integrity when compromise offers temporary comfort. Your character is built one decision at a time. Every choice either strengthens your foundation or weakens it. People often ask how good individuals slowly become comfortable participating in harmful behavior. The answer is almost never sudden. It happens through repeated compromise. They overlook one lie, then another. They excuse one betrayal, then another. Eventually their conscience grows quieter, not because the behavior became right, but because constant exposure dulled their awareness. Guard your conscience carefully. It is one of the greatest gifts you possess. The moment something that once disturbed you no longer troubles your heart, stop and examine the direction you are traveling. Never become so accustomed to negativity that hope feels unrealistic. Never become so accustomed to disrespect that kindness feels strange. Never become so accustomed to dishonesty that truth becomes uncomfortable. You were created with the ability to recognize what lifts your spirit and what slowly diminishes it. Listen to that inner wisdom. Pay attention when your peace disappears around certain people. Pay attention when your confidence fades after every conversation. Pay attention when your values begin changing simply to gain acceptance. Those quiet signals deserve your attention. Walking away is not only about leaving people. Sometimes you must walk away from habits that steal your discipline. Sometimes you must walk away from thoughts that constantly condemn you. Sometimes you must walk away from environments that celebrate everything you are trying to overcome. Sometimes you must even walk away from older versions of yourself. Growth requires release. Transformation requires separation. The strongest tree sheds old leaves before new growth appears. The clearest river keeps moving instead of becoming stagnant. Life itself demonstrates that progress often begins with letting go. You are not abandoning your future by walking away from what destroys your peace. You are protecting it. You are choosing a path where your mind remains clear, your heart remains compassionate, and your values remain intact. Every step away from deception is a step toward truth. Every step away from bitterness is a step toward freedom. Every step away from manipulation is a step toward dignity. The distance you create from destructive influences becomes the space where wisdom, strength, and hope can finally begin to grow. There comes a moment in every person's life when comfort and conviction stand on opposite sides of the road. One path is familiar because it asks nothing new of you. The other feels uncertain because it demands courage. Choose the road that protects your character rather than the one that merely protects your comfort. Long after temporary emotions have faded, your integrity will remain the quiet foundation upon which every meaningful part of your life is built.